Hey everyone, Dave K here, taking a whole new topic today. You know I love to change it up on you and bring a variety of different topics to my channel. I want to talk to you a little bit about something that's been on my mind, something that I'm thinking about a lot, and something that I do have a lot of interest in as well, and that's how do I retire early? And this can apply to a lot of different things, not just retiring early, but also being more comfortable in retirement, or maybe having some comfort if you're between jobs or run through a tough time. Let me dive into that here today. Let's do it. So as I touched on, it's not just about retiring early, but this could also relate to retiring more comfortably, not having to worry near the later parts of retirement. Could also tie into maybe if you're between jobs, again, it's a difficult time. Maybe you're out of the job right now and you're still looking for something else. You want to make sure that you have that sort of comfort and stability during that time. Again, this topic is going to tie into all those different pieces and give you some idea in terms of my thoughts in terms of how you can manage this. I definitely don't claim to be an expert on any of this, and this is a very sort of broad overview on my thoughts. And if you like this sort of video, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Do you like it? Do you not like it? What do you think of this sort of thing? So I know whether or not I should dive into it a little bit more. But just giving you, again, some of my initial thoughts here in terms of the importance of saving. So saving is that key step that I want to touch on here today, talking about the importance of saving a certain percentage of your income. And I know different people might find themselves in different situations, so you may need to save a different percentage of your income depending upon the situation that you're in. You know, things come up and things can get expensive, but if you can start creating a mindset for yourself for saying, I'm going to save X amount, or I'm going to save this percentage of my income and put that away towards my retirement or emergency funds or whatever else it might be, you can start building yourself towards that early retirement that we're getting towards. So that's kind of the whole point that I want to dive a little bit into here about, how much do you want to save, the importance of saving, how it can add up, that kind of thing. So let's take a look at that here today. So saving is important, and you're thinking about how much you want to save, right? What is a good amount for me to save? And there is a goal or a rule that goes around, which they call the 50-30-20 rule. And the 50% of your income, that first 50%, you allocate towards your essentials, right? Your rent, your food, that sort of thing. If you're able to make that happen, the goal is let's allocate 50% of that and try to save the rest for these other two buckets here. But again, different people may be in different situations. It's just kind of almost a golden rule in a sense, or a good starting point if you're trying to work towards those saving goals. That 30% is your discretionary fund. So you may be thinking about it, you like to go out to eat, or maybe you're thinking about going to some theme parks and that sort of thing. And the goal is, again, to try to keep that within this 30% range. And generally, I would say the bigger your 50% range, the more you want to cut that 30% range so that you can save that 20% for the savings bucket. And again, 20% of your income, the goal is to be able to save that and just kind of squirrel it away or keep that for the event of those emergencies or for retirement, so you can start building towards that longer term solution. And as you're getting promoted in your job, you will see that 20% number becomes a bigger and bigger number. So again, I'm just going to kind of throw out metaphorical numbers here. Let's say $50,000 a year, and in that case, you're able to save $10,000 a year. That'd be a really great place to be, right, if you're able to put that away on a yearly basis. And as you get promoted, let's say you get promoted to that $60,000 a year, now you're starting to save $12,000 a year. So that number is naturally growing with you keeping the same percentage. Not to mention, the other two numbers got bigger as well, so that you also earned yourself more leeway there for those essentials, more in the discretionary fund, and you've got more going into the savings bucket because your earnings increased. And again, I'm not considering taxes there or anything like that. I'm just throwing out some very vague, some very broad numbers to give you an idea of sort of the logic here and why percentage makes sense, right? Depending upon the situation you're in, you can't save as much if you're not making quite as much. So that's why that saving up a certain percentage makes a lot of sense. And I know a lot of people may find themselves in a situation where they're saying, hey, I'm not bringing in enough right now, or I have all these expenses that I need to spend on, or my essentials are too much more than that sort of thing. And it is totally okay to have a lower saving percentage. Nothing wrong with that at all. However, my take on this, the way I see it is, and I was watching a lot of these creators, a lot of the influencers, because I like to watch this thing on retiring early and on finance and on saving. And one comment I kept hearing is, if you save something, some sort of percentage, you're building a habit in yourself, right? You're creating that, okay, I'm putting this one, let's say it's a 1% or this 5% or this 10% or whatever it is away. Even though I'm not bringing in as much as I need to be bringing in, I do have that little leeway room, and I can put aside the whatever it is I'm putting aside and save that, okay, let's say it's only 5%, right? I'm bringing in $50,000 a year and I'm saving $2,500 a year. And although it's not as much as you want to be saving, it maybe not be as much as your savings goal, it's a great habit to be building yourself. You're building yourself into the habit of, look, I'm sort of have this extra, right? It's an excess, what do you call it, mindset. It's a mindset where you're saying, look, I am making enough. I even have this extra to save away towards that longer term in the event that I need it. So it's the importance of, regardless of what situation you're in, if you can think of a certain percentage, and even if that's 1% that you're saving, it's a great sort of habit to start building, and it can move you towards that goal of retiring early. And another point on this is the importance of consistency. So if you think about it this way, let's say there's two people. There's a 20-year-old and they're saving 1% of their income per year, and you've got a 50-year-old and they're saving 20% of their income per year. If you think about that, especially as the 20-year-old gets older and if he starts saving more, you can think that every year, let's say he's saving that $2,500 every year for 30 years, can really add up to a big amount of money. So he's got a huge head start on that 50-year-old who just started saving, who's saving 20% of his income for a year. So let's say you're thinking about this and you're like, when should I get started on this? The earlier you can get started, depending upon what your goals are, and really this applies to any type of goal, right? Depending upon what your goals are. Let's say you've got fitness goals. You may have heard me talk about a lot of health and wellness stuff, and I try to do my push-ups every day. I do my push-ups every day, and I try to add in sit-ups and squats and that kind of thing. And it's about building these habits, right? These healthy habits that can slowly work you towards your goals, because consistency is going to do a lot better for you than an intense focus for a short period of time. Really, consistency is king in that if you make little steps each and every day for a really long period of time to work towards your goals, you're going to see it really does add up to be quite an impact. And of course, money saved doesn't just automatically solve problems, right? You're like, well, I've got all this money here, but then when I'm retired, I'm going to be drinking through that, or I'm going to be working through that every year, right? So that's something to consider as well. And this is something that I've thought about a lot too. And if you look at a lot of typical, at least from my perspective, a lot of typical bank accounts, you don't get a huge return on your investment in your savings account. So there's a couple different options you can look at, from high interest savings account, some online banks where you can earn a higher percentage interest on your savings there. And if you're looking to put that money away for a longer period of time, if you're not worried about having to use it, you can always look into different investment options. Definitely not claiming to be an expert on any investment options, but again, depending upon what you're looking for, there's always stock market investments, or some investment that I think is a really good investment that I'd love to be able to invest in someday for me is a house. And I know a lot of people say, well, is a house really an investment? The way I see it as an investment is you're kind of earning equity and you're kind of building into, as much as it still costs you at more than rent would normally cost, that money's kind of being reinvested in you. You're slowly chipping away at buying your house with those rent payments, or those mortgage payments. So that's, again, another way to look at investment, in the sense that, okay, I'm not necessarily putting this money away and that I'm still actively spending it towards this mortgage, but it is working me towards that longer term financial goal, right? Having this house, having this ability. So 30 years from now, let's say I buy the house and I'm 30, and 30 years from now when I'm 60 and I'm looking at retiring, I don't have to worry about a mortgage payment. I'm going to be done with my mortgage payment. All I'm going to have to deal with is those HOA fees or that sort of thing. It's a whole different conversation about housing costs. And again, if you're interested in any of this content, or you see a topic here I'm going to dive a little bit more into, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Is this the sort of thing you resonate with, you'd love to hear more about, or is this not so much? I know I can be all over the place with some of these topics, but this was something that was on my mind lately, and I'm thinking to myself, again, if you're building up that savings, if you can save it, again, in that high interest savings account in the short term towards that house, or towards that maybe a moving expense, if you're planning to move soon, start saving that money up for that move or transportation, or that emergency situation. Let's say you run out of a job or that sort of thing, because those seasons do happen, right? Life has seasons. And so that's just kind of the way that things go. So having that shorter term savings, as well as potentially, if you're looking at longer term savings, again, investments in the stock market or investments in a house, that kind of thing, can be a great way to go as well, depending upon what you're looking for. But it's really important to consider the importance of savings, because you need to reach certain numbers, right, in order to be able to retire and to retire comfortably. In retirement, especially for me, as I'm thinking about it, as I'm working towards an older and older age here, something that I'm going to have to be thinking about is I may not have the same Social Security income as a lot of people get to enjoy now, just because those funds are getting depleted. So I have to be considering and thinking about, how am I going to manage to retire on my own here and create a fund for myself where I can reasonably live off that retirement and not need to continue to work, because it can be tricky. And I know a lot of people find themselves having to continue to work, and I'll see whether it's Lyft driving, that sort of thing. I've seen a lot of people who are sort of semi-retired but need that extra income coming in. So to be able to create that opportunity, that stability for yourself, to not have to worry about that kind of thing, can be really comfortable and is one of my goals. I'd love to be able to, again, create a situation for myself where I'm really comfortable when I get to that retirement age. I don't need to worry about working or worry about putting any expenses on any other family members to take care of me or that sort of thing, because I know that can be a challenge as well. It's a changing sort of economy, and it's a changing market here as we continue to think about sort of finances in general. I've made a video about the cost of going to college and how college education is so much more in terms of the percentage increase than the income that you now make from graduating college, right? College costs have gone up by 10x, whereas the income you might make after you graduate may be gone up by 2 since many years ago and many generations ago. So the sort of financial market and sort of cost and expenses are really changing in the world. And so that's why I try to think about these things and prepare myself for those longer term situations and create a future for myself where I can be comfortable. But it can be really, really tricky to do. Again, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think of this sort of content? Would you like to hear more of this sort of thing? Love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And do you agree with my thoughts, my numbers on this? Do you have any other thoughts? Do you disagree in terms of maybe the 50, 30, and 20 rule? Do you have any other thoughts on that? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. And if you haven't, for more videos that are apparently all over the place, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to stay informed of those future adventures. Might dive a little bit more into the financial education stuff. I don't know. Again, I'm not an expert on it, so it'd be very difficult for me to do. But maybe I could, again, pick some of these categories, dive a little bit more into them if those are of interest to all of us, because I'm definitely interested in the topic too, but I can't claim to be an expert. So let me know what you think. Thanks for being a part of it with me today, and until next time, play on.